Meanwhile, Republican Congressman Chuck Edwards of North Carolina is pushing back on the disinformation and conspiracy theories Donald Trump and his allies continue to spread in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene and now around Hurricane Milton. In an email to his constituents yesterday, Congressman Edwards, who represents western North Carolina ravaged by the flooding after Helene, wrote this, quote, "These conspiracy theories, while certainly frustrating, have done more harm than most people may realize. The spreading of falsehoods has diverted state, local, and federal resources from helping NC-11, his district, recover toward refuting hearsay and repeatedly trying to set the record straight." Congressman Edwards went on to write that it is disappointing to have to spend an email dispelling the outlandish rumors being spread online about Hurricane Helene response and recovery. Meanwhile, a North Carolina man is blaming former President Trump for his father-in-law's refusal to get help from FEMA. A man identifying himself as Anthony called into the Dan Abrams show on Sirius XM saying his father-in-law in Asheville only believes the former president, and it is actually breaking up our family.
My father-in-law lives just outside of Asheville, North Carolina, and he was badly damaged by Hurricane Helene. And he has refused all FEMA help because he's a hardcore Trumper. And he literally believes that if he accepts anything from FEMA, they're going to take his house. I don't understand how so many people are under the spell of this freaking con man. I don't understand it.
Well, it's absolutely heartbreaking about your father-in-law. I'm so sorry to hear it. I hope. And
it's hard to even imagine it. I mean, he lost almost everything, and he's refusing all help from the federal government and complaining to us that he doesn't have food, that he doesn't have the stuff he needs, and yet he won't accept the help. What the hell are we supposed to do? We're not in a position to be able to fly across the country and help him. Yeah. There's people begging us to get him to accept help, and he won't do it.
Wow.
And I guarantee you, I'm not the only one. I guarantee you, I'm not the only one.
I wish there was something I could say as to, I don't know. Does he have access to any electronics where you could send him some information debunking this, and that he might?
We've done all of that. We've done all of that. We've sent him all the FEMA bulletins. We've sent him all the stuff from the fact checkers. He doesn't believe it. He thinks it's all, he just believes Trump. Literally, Dan, it's a cult. He's a cult member. I'm sorry to say it. He's a cult member. And he's my father-in-law, and it sucks.
Just one story there after the storm. Joining us now, longtime political strategist, our good friend Mike Murphy. Mike, it's great to have you here. You've been in the Republican political game for a long time.
We now say racket, but yes,
the racket.
Yes,
okay, I'll let you say it.
It went from a game to a racket, which is why I'm so infuriated. But go ahead.
So let's talk about the racket then. It used to be that the kind of stuff we're hearing from Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump was the guy at the end of the bar. He had a conspiracy theory he wanted to tell you about, and you could kind of laugh him off, and there were dark corners of the internet where it lived. But now it's been elevated to the center of the political discourse. The guy who was president and wants to be again is elevating all this stuff.
Right. In the old days, we'd have the little kook wing that would bark at the moon, everybody, Now, they've been encouraged, they've been put on steroids to get front and center. Again, the old method was people knew this is serious business, let alone a hurricane. So, oh, no, we don't do that. Now we've got a ringmaster saying, you step right up. Let's hear more about space lasers. That is the fundamental shift, tragically, in our politics now. There's no policing, no shame, no curation. It's just bring the freak show up and put it, and people believe it. And with the internet, you can send anything around for free. You don't need to be responsible enough to get a job and buy some stamps to write a nutty letter. Now you hit send. So here we are. We have reality show politics. Stakes couldn't be higher, and the content of it couldn't be more depressing.
I mean, we had the President of the United States from the White House yesterday having to look down the barrel of the camera and say the government cannot engineer hurricanes, let alone target them to red states or counties that support Donald Trump. I guess the good news, Mike, is that the governors and that congressman we heard from there, because of the stakes and how serious this storm is and the people who are suffering, have stepped into that void.
Yeah, there are a few grown-ups left trying to say, not enough. They're outnumbered.
Yeah.
But hopefully truth will rise above. The very fact we're in this battle now is absolutely crazy. I mean, look, elections are full of, one of my favorite quotes is Bismarck used to say, the greatest lies in life are told before the marriage, after the hunt, and during the election. But this is a hurricane. This is life and death. And these games are being played. So, it's disgusting, and hopefully people will reject it.
And Mike, certainly some Republican governors, including Governor DeSantis, trying to take the politics out of the storm, in response and saying, look, the federal government is giving us what we need. But it is going to be a backdrop of the campaign. We're under 4 weeks now until Election Day. Let's get just your snapshot as to where you things stand. The polls are relatively even. There's some, I would say, in political circles, some sense that maybe Trump has a little momentum, but then it's rebutted by another poll that says actually Harris has this and she has $1 billion to spend.
Yeah, it's, everybody's a poll junkie because we all want to relax and have some idea what's going to happen in the future. Might as well go to Madame Zorba. Polls tell you what happened a week ago, but you look at the trend lines. Nationally, she's moving in the right direction. She's closing the gap on being perceived as being able to run the economy. That was Joe Biden's real problem. He was double digits down on that. Now she's closed it to single. That's very good for her. She's being perceived as new, change, which is quite a hat trick since she's an incumbent. But Trump's tone is what a lot of people want to get away from. So I think she's on track to win the national vote. The question is the states. Last week, there were some bad internal polls popping around in Michigan. Got a hot Senate race there. That's tightening. All the Republican senators are creeping up a little in the competitive races. So last week was a scary week. That polling data, taken last week, we'll see if her media offensive and kind of flooding the zone, shifting from the Ming Vaz candidacy they were running, where lock Waltz up, don't say anything. Now, hopefully, that charm offensive will start to move the numbers back. But I would just sum up by saying Michigan, a state I've worked quite a bit, is the new Pennsylvania. There's trouble there. Trump is demagoguing the EV issue, and he's lying, by the way.
Can you explain that, Mike, just for people who aren't up to speed on what the EV issue is?
Yeah, so electric vehicles. A lot of Republicans think it's some kind of left-wing mandate. Now, I drive one, and I'm a right-wing nut because I don't like paying California gas prices. I love the damn thing. I like to drag race gas cars and beat them, and I'm a motorhead. I'm a wrenching gas guy. My lifetime average is 3 miles to the gallon. But anyway, the point is there are 20,000 new EV manufacturing jobs, auto jobs in Michigan, and it's on its way to doubling. It's the future of the auto industry worldwide. We either play or there's going to be no American auto industry. People don't even, we just took a poll on this. I do some work in the area. People have no idea that China makes twice as many cars as we do. They think we're still number one. They're eating markets all over the world. But Trump rolls in and says, and some of the leadership of the UAW makes this worse, says these EVs are going to wipe out your jobs. Vote for her. She's going to make you get rid of gas cars, not true, and wipe out your jobs. And it's working. I've encouraged the Harris campaign, which I'm publicly for. I'm one of those Romney, Bush, McCain Republicans for Harris. Character building experience for a right winger like me, but we got to stop Trump. To go tell the story, because nobody knows it in Michigan. They got a great story. This is the biggest boom in Georgia and Michigan in manufacturing we've had in years, yet it's a secret. I would suggest if they want to win Michigan, full offense, none of this defense stuff. Don't let Trump demagogue.
It's jobs.
There's
at
other
the end
stuff.
Of the day. It's jobs.
It's manufacturing jobs, which are the key to metal bending states. So, we'll see. There's some time, but with early voting, we got about 12 days here, and then significant votes going to start rolling in. So this is a really key window. I will say, in the national poll, all the attributes are going her way, slow but sure. That is a very good sign, but we sure need it in the metal benders. We need it in Pennsylvania and Michigan.
So, Mike, let's stick with Michigan in terms of the EVs. It's not just the auto workers. It's supplementary working industries.
Yeah.
People who work with their hands
Yeah.
would benefit from an explosion of EV construction.
Yeah, no. First, there's a big capital expenditure, all the charging gear. It's the best thing to happen to electricians in the history since the light bulb. You know, if I wasn't a political BSer for a living, I'd be in an electrician school and get my card because I'm going to be working. There's a massive shortage of electricians in America. So yeah, there's all that infrastructure going in. There's the supply chain for it. You know, let's put it this way. The president of one of the American auto companies told me it's real simple. The future is going to be more EV than gas. Won't be totally gas, but it won't be totally EV. And worldwide, Mexico, all these places, if we don't compete there, we're toast. My famous auto company may not be here in 15 years, and I employ hundreds of thousands of people, and I pay a hell of a lot more than the Chinese do. You know, $9 an hour auto workers over there. So this thing, we're in a race here for survival. And when half the market is told by our leaders that they're Biden communist mobiles, you shouldn't even consider one. That's the best thing Chairman Xi's got going for him. Because the Chinese are on their way to wipe out not only us, the Europeans, the Koreans, and the Japanese. So we can compete, but we got to get behind this stuff and not demagogue it. And you're going to be able to buy whatever car you want. If you try an EV, you're going to want one because they're faster and you don't have to pay for gas.
Mike.